Hi everybody, welcome to Khong Driving channel. Today we are in the Proton X70, but this time it's in the standard spec version. There are altogether 4 versions, and the standard spec sells at 99,800. Next up the ladder is another 10,000 more, which is the X70 Executive 2-wheel drive, and that sells at 109,800. The next higher up one is Executive Proton with all-wheel drive, and that retails at 115,800. And of course the top of the range is the Premium, which is 123,800, and that's the car with all the bells and whistles. So what we're trying to do today is to see whether it's okay to buy just the 99,800. Can I get away with it? Can I save 23,000 ringgit and still enjoy the X70? Driving on the road, I am running at 100 kilometers per hour, okay? And the fuel consumption I'm getting is about 8.0 liters per 100, okay? And I'm now in standard mode. I can actually go to eco mode by pressing a button here on the console. And what happens in eco is that the computer, or rather the engine control unit or ECU, controls the amount of acceleration and also the amount of fuel that goes in when you accelerate. So it doesn't allow you to fluff the throttle and pour in a whole bunch of petrol just to get the car moving, yeah? So it lets the engine sip fuel, it regulates the amount, and that way you will get fuel economy. The price you pay for that is a little bit of a sluggish type of response. So it feels like the car is not responding to you. That's because you could be pressing the throttle more, but the engine control unit or ECU is saying, no, I'm going to give you less fuel because you are in eco mode. So the next up is of course the standard mode, and you do that by switching off eco, and the car runs normally. It feels pretty good, okay? In the X70 Premium that we drove, it felt pretty good, and on the all-wheel drive it was okay too. The all-wheel drive sucks a bit of power, but on the Premium and Executive it felt the same. And now we are in the standard version, and I can tell you it feels the same too, because it's the same engine and the same 6-speed automatic gearbox. So if you drive it like this mode and you drive at regulation speeds, you can expect anything between 8 to 10 liters per 100 depending on your foot on the throttle. If you run in eco mode, you could probably get something like 8, yeah? Provided you put it in eco and then you still drive flat out, yeah? Okay, now I'm going to put it into sport mode, which is just the button there. I pressed it and immediately the car feels more energetic, yeah? Response to throttle is good, and even the exhaust note changed a little bit. So I would say that the Proton has done a pretty good job in getting these 3 modes. The behavior is totally different in each of the modes. You can feel it, yeah? And if you ask me which mode would I prefer to drive it in, I would prefer to drive it in sport mode, because that's what makes it feel good. But if you are just going along the highway and doing nothing, then you just put it into standard and it's good enough, okay? And if you really want to save fuel, you go eco. But anyway, I'm not paying for this fuel, so we don't have to go eco. But you can if you want. Now for 23,000, I'm sure there's something you have to give up, right? Okay, basically it is the advanced driving assistance system. Now let's look at it and see whether we can afford to go without it. For the advanced driving assistance system, the most prominent thing is, of course, the autonomous emergency braking. Now, what autonomous emergency braking does is, if you come towards an obstacle or another slower moving car in front of you, and if you don't see it, that means you're either sleeping or talking to your girlfriend or playing with your handphone, okay? Then the car will automatically brake and try to get you out of the collision situation, okay? Now, depending on how close you are, it may not prevent the collision, but it will help to mitigate because it applies brake, okay? So do I need that? Well, if you're a good enough driver, you don't need that, okay? You can, anyway, you're supposed to keep your eyes on the road and be 100% alert. So, do I need it? No, I don't. I can do without the AEB, autonomous emergency braking. Right. Next on the list is ACC, which is the adaptive cruise control. So what is adaptive cruise control? You set the distance and you set your speed, and if you find a car that is running at almost the same speed or slightly slower than your set speed, your car will follow that car, and if that car stops, your car will stop too, and all is done through the system. Okay, the adaptive cruise control, do I need it? Well, it's nice to have lah, because if you're in a traffic jam, then you can just follow that car, you know. And if you are in a long queue or on the highway, you can comfortably let your car maintain a distance between yourself and the car in front. It's nice to have. Do I need it? Not really lah, because cruise control will mean that you are just being lazy. And to me, if you're serious about your driving, and which everybody should be, you should drive. Yeah, you should be in full control of your car. Maybe one day they'll come up with autonomous driving cars, you know, cars that drive themselves, but that's going to be another story. But for now, to me, if you want to have good control over the car and control over your life, you don't really need this adaptive cruise control. So, nice to have, I don't need it. So what's next? Okay, we've gone through two of the features, and I can live without them. The third one is Bliss. Okay, this is the first generation Bliss that was found in the early Volvos, because as you know, Geely owns Volvo, and of course the technology has filtered through to here. So Bliss is a blind spot information system. Okay, so if there's a car in your blind spot, it will beep 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 and warn you either on your left or on your right. Now, to me, that is a very, very useful feature, and I would like to have it. I'm sorry it's not in the standard X70, because having blind spot information warning system is very good, because we are not always 100% attentive. But then if I don't have it, there are many cars out there that don't have it today, and if you've never had it, I don't think you will miss it. Okay, so you can live without that. Okay, next on the list of the features that are not present in this X70 Standard would be the LDW, which is lane departure warning. So what is lane departure warning? Lane departure warning is when it's active and you stray over the line without making a signal, like what I just did. Okay, because I'm moving to the left to let the car overtake. Then you go beep, 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 beep to tell you, hey, you are changing lane. Okay. Now, not many cars nowadays have it. And I actually don't like it. I would like to be in control of my car and I can change lanes when I want to. Because if you don't signal, then it goes dit, 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 dit. So it can be quite irritating at times, yeah? And sometimes, if it doesn't read the signal properly, or if the lines on the road are not clear, it doesn't work at all. So to me, I don't really need it. Okay, one more thing is not available in the X70 Standard, and that's to do with the reverse camera. You do get a reverse camera because when you reverse, you can see through the normal reverse camera that is mounted at the back. What it doesn't have is the 360-degree view. I do have another car that has 360-degree view, and yes, it's a nice to have. Do I need it? Not really. The reverse camera is the most important part. The 360-degree, sometimes it's very hard to judge because you're not used to that type of environment. So even though it's there, you still have to turn and look, yeah? So, no, I don't need it. Now, other than that, there is the LED headlamps and the LED daytime running lights. Headlamps, yes, it would help a bit if it was brighter, but $23,000, okay, and there's no option, fine, I'll go without it. Okay, the one more minor item is the wheel size. The standard X70 runs 17-inch wheels, and the executive runs 18, and the premium runs 19. So what's the difference? The overall diameter of the tire remains the same, but the rim is just bigger, yeah? So that means there's less rubber. Now with the 19-inch, your cornering performance will be a lot better. With the 18-inch, it is a little bit lesser, and with 17-inch, again a little bit lesser. But the plus side of the smaller rim is more rubber, and so therefore there's more cushioning, and that means the ride would be better. So in terms of specs, I wouldn't mind buying this standard X70. Okay folks, now we are at the foot of Bukit Tinggi, and we're going to do a bit of a driving test for the X70 Standard. The last time I drove an X70 up a hill, it was the Premium, and we went up a hill in Langkawi. Now we're going to go up this Bukit Tinggi. It's a nice hill climb. Of course, we have to again use only one side of the road and be careful about oncoming traffic. And we have to slow down for some of the blind corners. But other than that, we're going to try to give this car a shakedown. Okay, what we should do is maybe try on sport mode. Yeah. Okay, sport mode is on. I'm not using the plus minus yet. Maybe it's not necessary. Yeah, maybe it is. Okay, we are on plus minus. Okay, for those of you who are wondering about the steering on the hands, I'm using the push-pull method, which was what I was trained on in the early days. So the reasoning behind this is your shoulders are square with the steering wheel all the time. and no matter what the position of the car in the corner, your hands are still on the 10 to 3 or 10 to 2 position. Okay, the handling is slightly worse off than the Premium because of the tire size. There's more rubber, so the rubber will tend to fold over a bit more, so body roll will be a bit more, and the sidewall will flex, so the cornering ability is slightly worse off, but it's not really that worse off. And if you drive at this speed like what I'm doing, you'll probably feel it a little bit. But if you drive at a normal speed that gives you your 8 liters per 100 kilometers, you know, and you just drive like Mr. Joe average around the corners, you will not know the difference, okay? At 40 to 50 kilometers per hour, which will be the normal speed that people drive through here, you won't feel any difference whatsoever. It's only when push gets to shove that you will feel the difference. Okay, for those car enthusiasts who are watching, you will notice I'm doing a little bit of weight transfer, yeah? So when you get to the corner, you lift off and let the front sit down, then you take the corner and you feed the steering in. Don't steer too much, because then that will cause the tires to fight against the road, okay? You got to feed the thing in, don't scrub off too much speed, keep it sane, yeah. Okay, I think auto seems to be better, except that with auto it tends to shift up. Okay, traction control is coming in. Oh, I forgot to tell you, even though it doesn't have all those other things in the ADAS system, traction control is there, ABS is there, and what we are doing is I'm switching off traction control. Yes, traction control off, because what happens is when I go around the bend and too much G forces, the engine is slowed down by the car automatically. So I turn off traction control. Guy on the skateboard, what's he doing here? Okay, traction control is off, and I'm gonna go back into plus minus. So there are some people who say there isn't enough power. Actually, how much power do you need? Okay, if you are buying this car as an SUV, you will probably find the power enough. So just remember, the engine is the same throughout the range. So it doesn't matter which variant you buy, you will get the same engine. Starting going down the hill. Well, downhill is always easier because you don't have to worry so much about acceleration. Yeah, with downhill you can accelerate faster, of course, but of course your brakes will suffer a bit more. Well, it's good to note that the X70 has ventilated disc in the front and solid disc at the back, so there is plenty of braking power. They're big enough. Okay. A motorbike in front. I have to wait to see whether it's safe to overtake. I don't know if he knows I'm here. Okay, let me go, man. The seats hold you quite well. Oh yeah, I forgot to say, the standard variant has got cloth seats as compared to leatherette, another word for fake leather, for the executive, and for the premium it's high quality leather. The combination of the 17-inch and the standard suspension, which is the same throughout the range, makes it a bit softer. There's a little bit more body roll. And actually, if I bought one of these, I maybe wear off one of these sets and then I would upgrade to a 18-inch. Now, if only Proton can do something like, okay, you want like what they do in Europe or Japan, when you buy a car, you order the part that you want. Well, I'm sure they can actually give you an option on wheels, because either or, the cost of the wheels when in relation to each other, there's not much difference. So maybe one day we'll see car companies offering options. Okay, you want your car with 17-inch wheels, 18 or 19, up to you, and you just pay the difference, if any. Yeah. And maybe Proton will be the first to do that. After all, you are part of the nation now. Yeah. But whichever car company that starts doing it, I think that will be a step in the correct direction. Okay, so now because I'm talking, maybe I'm not driving so fast, but we are still going at a pretty decent clip. And well, this just goes to show that the X70 is quite stable, and it's a pretty nice car. So what's going to happen? Because of this price level, which is very attractive, I suppose all SUVs will be benchmarked, or this will be benchmarked against all SUVs, yeah? So I think everybody else is going to have a tough time. See how the car can flow nicely through the corners. So a little bit of advanced driving technique here is required, of course. You just can't jump into a car and expect to drive like this. If you've never driven like this, you'll probably end up in the parit, you know. So if you want to drive fast, fine, but make sure you are trained, yeah? Okay, here are the skateboarders again. And okay, at least they know how to get out of the way. And I think maybe they're shooting video. Yep, we gotta share the road. So around the blind corners, we have to be a bit careful, because you don't want to meet another car who has gone into your lane, yeah, in the opposite direction. So whilst we love to drive fast, we must always be careful and exercise caution at all times. It's good to drive fast, but it's not very good to fly off the road. Well, I said it for the Premium and I say it for this car too. We could do with a set of shift pedals, man. That'll be fun. So in terms of the basic safety features, the X70 Standard has it all. It just doesn't have all the extra bells and whistles. And I can live without that. So, guys, it's not always about gaya mutusami, yeah? So you can also save money and still enjoy the benefits. If you can afford 123,800, by all means go for the Premium, okay? And if you want a bit of a compromise, you can maybe go for the 109,800 executive model. But if budget is a constraint and you are wondering whether the car is safe enough and whether it will perform just as well, generally, yes, you can take the 99,800 standard variant and still enjoy it just as I'm enjoying it now, okay? And go for it. Okay, we have reached the end of our drive. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to YS Khong Driving channel. Cheers!